Here we go. This is my wonderful friend, Glendy, and Glendy is an amazing healer, does energy healing, sound healing, and we just had a session yesterday. Glendy's offering free online sessions, especially during the Corona crisis, and yesterday's session was amazing. Like, I haven't had an energy session like this in such a long time, so I felt, I just told you, I felt bliss running all through my body, and it was like so amazing and so intense. And I know some people probably don't know what energy healing is. Some people probably don't know what sound healing is and what it does. And I would love to talk with you about that. And thanks for being with me.
Thanks for having me.
So let's start with the session yesterday, like the energy.
Sure.
What exactly do you do? And especially in these times, like, you offer so much free support for people who struggle emotionally, mentally, physically during these times. What exactly do you do?
Yeah, and I think by now, or at least getting closer for science and just everybody kind of getting to understand that we are more than just the physical body. Things are just more than just this matter that like glued together and becomes our physical being. There's a lot more to it, and especially how energy and vibrations permeates anything and everything from our physical body to our table and our emotions. So it's especially during this time that we are physically isolated. We are these type of modalities that exist, forever, and becoming to me, it's becoming a great tool for people to explore because when we tap into, I call it the internet of the universe. And we will be able to access the energy, be able to receive the healing, give the healing. It's no different than like, hey, we all typed in our internet on Google, type in something and then some information pull up showing on screen. You have no idea where is this fish, dish out, where is the server that actually is hosting. But in some way, it's distant energy healing can work like that. It's just like I have, you requested the healing or giving the permissions, but participate co-creations of this flow of energy and facilitate uh, cleansing and removal or balancing, whatever that intention, whatever the purpose for the work. And when the energies is clear out your body, um, able to restore equilibrium, which is what the physical being or energy and vibrations always constantly attempting to get back to. And it works physically, it works mental emotionally, which is a lot easier. Like, I always think of our being, it's like water, right? We are so much water, but think about like the physical body is a hunk of ice. So, and then you have the emotions and the mental and spiritual, more like the water, the flowing water versus the vapors and maybe even other new state of water that scientists finally discover. So it is in those states that things are a lot easier to change and manipulate, and especially emotions. And when those emotions kind of like, get stuck, right, in our physical being. For I know people who long suffer certain negative emotions and manifested and or have certain disease, physical disease. Those are real physical disease. They kind of trap, develop the body. It's kind of co-create those type of things. So it's a lot easier to handle it at an energetic level versus when it gets finally to your physical being. So
Or, but
yeah, so I use this. I study a variety of modalities, and they all come in just slightly different angle, but they all have the commonality of directly addressing the different layers of our being, and which is often not taught. Right, we only taught physical body as the anatomy book, but there's a spiritual anatomy that's a different layers, and a lot of Eastern philosophy talks about it, and in different depth. So it is in working with those extra bodies that we have, which we all do, that it can create the benefits of bringing back to balance and wholeness of what we need.
science is like slowly catching up with it. Last week I spoke with my somatic therapist. People can, like, usually they can grasp that things doing something going on and change.
Yeah.
But as I also said, like, emotion is energy. Our
Hmm.
bodies are made out of vibrating atoms and particles, so it's
Yes.
all energetic, right? So science is science has been catching up the last years.
Hmm.
So how we exactly how, but that you can actually, for instance, when thousands of people meditate, they have to measure the effect it has on vibratory levels. So this is to work in a different realm, just not the physical realm.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I think we're all getting there, and especially we are collectively forced into a situation where we're in right now that forcing us to explore, forcing us to question, to reflect, right? To questions and possibly explore. Um, ties into a little bit about what the life path of each person is right now, because we're our vibrations in the collective in the Earth, and where we are in the galactic, in the galaxy, it's kind of all shifting and elevating. We kind of lose the we can't afford to be not doing something that's not in alignment with the bigger picture of who we are. Yeah.
And what I loved about yesterday's session is there were so many different people, and everybody had like a different thing they came to do with. Like I'm on my period. I had some, like lower belly, lower back things. Some people have emotional worries in these times. It is obviously like challenging times emotionally. Um, what they all had in common, what we all had in common, was we trust you and we gave our permission. I think this is kind of like the basic thing that you have to have a curiosity and an openness and to say yes to it.
Absolutely, yes.
What else
Yeah,
is
definitely.
required? Like the openness, and does it work for everybody? That's the bottom line of my question.
Yeah, that's a big part. It's there's an energy exchange in it, even though we're doing it through a Zoom sessions and computer sessions versus in person. There is definitely that permissions, that energy exchange happens, and even as we spoke a little earlier about how even if you participate in any sessions over the computer, there is that energy. What we pay attention to, even just one directionally on the phone, right? On looking at news and social media, and there is energy exchange. So it's definitely purposeful. So the more that we are bringing our purpose and focus on truly what we want, and has a very specific intentions of outcome, the better it helps us. Whether it's a healing sessions and whether it's a consumptions of like just kind of like having breadcrumbs dropped to us, right? And what to pay attention to, what not to pay attention to. That is, it's ties back to what we truly desire. Yeah.
And people don't have to be afraid because we also have free choice. As I said, like we have to say yes to it. We have to trust
Yeah.
you. And you will not be able to do anything that I don't want. It's not to that you're
Yeah.
overtaking my energetic body.
Yeah. So a few things. I don't work with like people. I won't work with people that who just ask me to do, because I know a lot of people when they started the healing journey, they were like, oh, they want to heal everybody and they want to, use this stuff. But like you mentioned, it doesn't work if it's and often there are people who resistance doesn't, it doesn't work. And two, it's bad for me. It's bad for the giver, literally. You may hear background of Looney, the mountain lion. We call him the mountain lion, meowing for his breakfast. So he can be a little vocal, insisting on food. Um, yeah, it's if and I have a lot of people actually trying to give, and it's almost like karmically not a good thing when you attempt. So there are people that knows, kind of curious about know my work, but when they don't, I just need them to ask. I'm more than happy to help them, but it definitely require like you said, that it's a co-creation. Yeah.
What I love, and I would love to come to your sound healing and all the other things that you do a little later. But what I feel is now is the time that people actually are open up to alternative healing modalities. And
Mhm.
just from watching, like we met 5.5 years ago at Burning Man at actually an EFT session, I remember. So
Yes.
another
Yeah.
healing modality.
Yeah.
And then we did so many amazing things when I moved to New York. But what I remember is when I moved to New York, you were a high level cybersecurity executive working with Fortune 500 companies. You were busy, 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 busy. And most of the things that we did were to kind of recharge and to bring, especially you, and I love doing this stuff with you, and kind of like bring us up into a balance, into a good energetic place, so that we have something to give. So we, like we went, I did a Korean spa, to a gong bath,
Mhm.
did all these amazing sessions, and I know you how talented you are because you worked on me. So but I've seen your development, and I would love for you to share a little bit more about your journey, because I really believe, as I said earlier, that there's many people right now who might be crazy busy, who might be even stuck in a job they don't like, or they don't like the terms the job has. They might feel that something is out of balance, they're overwhelmed, there's too much going on, they don't have the energy to actually live life the way they wanted to. And this is, I feel like when I met you, you were at this place, and then we went, you soaked up all these healing modalities, and now, and you not only soaked them up, you actually really learned them and dove deep, and now you changed your life. So tell me a bit more about
Yeah, my journey is just almost like a traveler's in all these different places. And yeah, I've been in technology for was in technology for 17 years,
You're a
and
neuroscientist, right? You're a
huh?
neuroscientist. You are, sorry to interrupt, you're a neuroscientist, right? Like your background?
I was I started out as a neuroscientist. Yes, I had about 6 years under my belt, and then when I realized that no, I don't want to slice any more brains and cut, kill any more animals, I'm like, wait a minute. So I switched over to work on the digital kind, in cybersecurity world, and a lot of consulting in the consulting client service industry. So a lot of traveling, a lot of big corporations, and it's interesting to kind of just peek in, right? And you can just peek in for 3 months, 6 months, sometimes several years, and then and you hop out and you see a lot of different companies in different sectors, from like the automotive to luxury brand to banking to insurance. So yeah, it's fascinating to kind of be able to hold that space. But the travels take the tolls on me, the hours and the demands, and I think it's along the way, it's all those healing things that we talk about are just my hobbies. So I'm like, oh, this looks interesting. Like, oh, wait a minute, let's go to. I started out a yoga class taking yoga, and eventually getting 3 yoga certifications because I was like, can't physically, I'm not fit enough to like go skiing. So I'm like, well, I have to do something, and I'm not great at other sports. So my journey is just really like slow and casual from the physical. It started out at yoga, brought me into a lot of yoga philosophies and philosophy to Zen Buddhism, a lot of like high initiations and high teachings, and my journey goes from yoga to meditation, and then eventually to energy healing, and there's a variety of ways healing, whether it's more from the physical sense, and herbalism as well, from the physical sense, getting more and more subtle, into energetic realm, and even with working with different things that has charged vibrations, energy, that sacred geometries, crystals, essences of plants, as well as working with land, just under working with land energy that needs to be clear. That's and ties into very spiritual realms, into past lives and other beings that has an influence of who we are and what we do every day. So that journey is started out. It's really a sort of progressions of like what I needed to and as I was rising in the corporate world, my weekends it's entirely it ends up being used to just kind of be back up in shape and recharge. So and then Monday, it's like I'm here, and then you can feel it like gradually your oil tank it's like going down, right? Your gas tank's going down, and then Friday, and then I'm like has to go to do whatever I need to do, to recover, to rebalance, and people are always surprised, like, oh yeah, I'm always having a great attitude, and like I'm like you have no idea how much effort that was, and I think that a lot of people probably their corresponding coping mechanism, maybe with uh, dinner with friends or going out or drinking, how often that was kind of like the way to kind of numb the pain, if you will, or having be able to kind of do it again and more like forget about some of the be able to alleviate some of the anxieties and what it came up. So yeah, it's but what I found interesting is that especially after so I finally left the corporate world about 2.5 years ago, and I was kind of watching for a while, like, okay, when should I leave and when can I leave? And at the height of my career, I was it's I could stay, I can see it, but at the same time, I feel like the work um, it's bringing me to a place that like it's not physically healthy for me. And like, well, I have to make a choice. Either I just jump or let it like push me out when I'm like physically so drained that I have no choice and no inspirations and no, won't be able to carry on. So, I just kind of make a decision to jump. And what was interesting is at a time I was looking at everything that I've been doing. And unbeknownst to me, I just wait a minute, every night I work with our a vibrational medicine, vibrational wellness, and it's all energy healing, whether it's, and so I think everybody, whatever they needed, it's brought onto the path, even though they have no idea whether what rhyme or reason. So and it may not be important at the moment until you look back 10 years later. That maybe that was that little inspiration that just give you the icing on this other cake that you're building, right? And that eventually become a cake when it was just like battered, different ingredient tossing in. Yeah, so that's kind of what I would find actually when people I met is that along the journey, um, yeah, they encounter what they need. Things are just kind of little breadcrumbs, right? And I've been looking for breadcrumbs for a little while, and it's interesting how what is turned to, and it's still in some ways you don't know where this is going, but it was just at the same time, it's you just kind of okay, it's just the right thing to do. And even with this, with what this happening right now with all of us here, it's like it was so clear that like nope, like time's up. I'm up on that. I'm up on that. Like got my tools. Just I need to set up shop. This is what I'm doing, and I'm doing for free and whatnot. But like it's like nope. There's forget about money. There's no money anyway. Eventually, right? And but it is. But this is what I can give right now, and especially of the energetic aspect of it, that I can be anywhere, anybody can receive. So which is really incredible, and in some way it's like wow, this is what I've been preparing for, this is what I'm here for. It was so clear when this whole thing hit up. So instead of like getting the fearful mode, I get in the warrior mode, like got everything packed, get everything ready. I'm usually normally in New York City. I'm actually in the countryside right now. Like you should see the things that I bring with me, like for my it's very selective, what do I bring for my apartment. Like I in addition to all the food and essential, I brought all my healing tools, like all of them. And it ranged from like hundreds of bottles of essential oils to like essences to all the crystals and to like all kinds of esoteric tools that I have. And I don't even know what I mean. I don't even know why. I know why, but in some way I'm like I just know I need them. I just know that I will be able to use them in ways that would give help for. So we'll see where this journey is taking us, and each of us, I think, it's is going through that. Whether and I've noticed that some people gotten a lot more time, of course, and a lot of people actually get extra busy, way more busy than before. So wherever you are, maybe in relation to this whole thing, is bringing you the time, bringing you the circumstances, whether it's like it's you dealing with yourself or dealing with more with something, whether you have your rug pulling underneath you or a lot of relationships are like shifting, all those whatever that stimulus may be, it's just an opportunity to bring out of you what needs to be looked at, what type of trauma or unresolved unfinished business in the past, recent past or past or way past, that need to be processed right now, in whatever fashion that it's for your next evolution. Yeah, it's quite an interesting time, and I think what's also beautiful here, what a lot of people offering, and like what the work that you're doing right now, and that it's
Hmm. You're frozen right now. I don't know if you can still hear me. You're back. You're back.
yep, you're back. Yes, good. Yeah.
You're doing great.
Can you repeat that?
The last thing I could hear is what a lot of what you're doing that is very close.
Okay. Yeah, so what a lot of people experience or their response, where they're responding from, it's more than just what we collectively, see at the news, but actually what they're responding from the place of previous unresolved business, and whether it's relationships or childhood or other wounds that we have collected along the way of this human journey, not just in this life, but for many. And if this is the right time for us to bring it up to resolve it. And some people are given purposeful time, extra time to do the inner work, and other people are and find something different, right? Especially things are, vibrations are rising, things doesn't work, will just fall apart. They fall apart for you, not against you. So this is the time that for people to hey, find that freedom. And perhaps there are people that who are getting more busy and bombarded. Um, they would have a slightly different path, but also an opportunity to examine: is it really what they want? Is it really purposeful? Yeah.
Gave, like you gave just so many truth nuggets that I get. Basically, also when you're wanting to start, I've also been looking at business and all of that stuff. Now my door is ringing. I'm not answering. Um, the thing is that so many people say you got to know what you want. You got to follow your passion. If you don't, you follow the breadcrumb trail. If you like
Yeah.
in your
Yeah.
case,
Yeah.
you follow what makes you happy. Do that, and it will all come together. That way, as you said, like everything you did with energy, you know, and then you were ready to leave the corporate world. And you're like, wait a minute, I have all these tools under my belt, and now I can need it. And then
Mm-hmm.
there's this decision that again, so it's either you and I, we both make conscious choices. We make a conscious choice to say, what we're doing, the corporate stuff is not working for us anymore. We're going to change.
Mm-hmm.
Getting
Yeah.
this right now, which is energy. But
That so Yeah, that's also very interesting because I was like trying to navigate, because in some way I'm like looking at my situation. I'm like, wait a minute, I'm doing too many things. It's like a blessing and a curse. I can do all this stuff, but like, how do I even explain to people what I do anyway? And I was like working with a coach, and I was almost want to just do private work, do deeper work, in person work, kind of a little instead of sound, but more like energy healing, similar to what you experience, but like way deeper. And my coach, she's intuitive coach, of course. I work with somebody that's kind of having a larger access than and she has, other like understanding of the market. But she was like, nope, you need to work with in person, large group, corporate. I'm like, what? And that's not really, doesn't really exist in some way. It's not quite there. There's some progressive companies that are offering, but it's not quite there. But it's just like, yeah, I mean, there is a reason why I was in corporate for 17 years, and from all the way down, all the way at the executive leaderships, like at this chief executive level, and type of world. So that was interesting, and I'm still watching it unfold and see how it unfold. But definitely, it's like, every little thing. You just don't know whether it's your little hobbies, or even do it a couple times. But whatever spark your interest along the way, those are the breadcrumbs. And yeah, so I know we're kind of want to curious to see how companies, especially after what this happens here, how that push them, as an entity, right? Not just as a person, or personal choices, but also the choices of company make to help their people, their most valuable asset, right? To have that balance, to have a different relationship, um, right, on a day-to-day basis. Yeah.
I really
So.
feel as the people change and as we become more aware that we cannot keep going like this because we burn out.
Mm,
All of us burn out, our systems burn out. The corporate level eventually will has to do corporate changes, and startups are starting already. I'm working in the startup world, and they're very, very aware of that because there's also a lot of
mm,
burnout right now happening. And also on an individual level, you said, Corona, like when you're really in tune with your intuition and with your inner knowing, you're like you and I, we've made crazy choices that from the outside look crazy, but we just know we have to do that. We might not fully know why, we might not see the way and not how it's gonna unfold, but we just know we're
mm,
gonna keep living lie.
mm,
So and many people are afraid. They are still in, okay, but I gotta pay my rent. I gotta,
yeah.
and what will the people say? They will think I'm crazy. What is my family going to say? But eventually, most of the change usually happens for people who are not so connected. When something pushes them and kicks them, they get fired or somebody dies, or you know
Exactly.
now this virus is kind of like this
Mhm.
thing that
Yep.
shows you, okay, so what do you really want? And then you say there's two ways. You can either numb, you can
Mm-hmm.
eat, drink, keep crazily busy, or you
Mm-hmm.
can still really feel your emotions go inside, and it might not be comfortable at first because things might come up that you have suppressed, but
Yeah.
it's actually a liberation.
Yeah, it's so true. And also just to get above, beyond, or get away from that cultural, I call it the cultural entrainment. It's that
Brainwashed.
yeah, well, yeah, and what, right? What we think we need to do, what looks good, what needs to how we can be comfortable. And yeah, those thoughts and idealism is so strong, and it is scary. And even looking back, I have gotten into, even within the spiritual community, there are things that actually, quote unquote, I would say, or even some of the choices that we made, that was, um, in some way, it's quote unquote wrong, but at the same time, you get still out of it what you needed, even though it's like it's a negative, you still have the negative learning, and not like in a like you fall down kind of way, but it's like you still come up out of it with much more than had you not been through. So that's the part that where it's like, you just kind of have to get rid of that, to stay away from that fear. And that's probably one of the primal thing that people need to work on for first thing. It's and I think just from going back to like entrepreneur speak, like how things that you want to do has to be like, it feels like death if you don't do it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And this is but also like for me, and you started 2.5 years ago, and I also started like creating freelance business. And there's also so many things that can block us when we believe we
Mm.
have to have it all figured out, which is
Yes. Yeah.
just not true. Just follow
Hmm.
it. It all comes together. And then, but you also know, and there was also something beautiful in what you shared earlier. You're doing so much. You're sharing so much. You also know that what you did, and it all comes back to you. And I'm sure that you know in the last 2.5 years since you stepped outside of the corporate world, people have been coming to you. People have been using your services. I really feel there has been more of an openness towards that, and it will
Yeah.
even get more
Yeah.
open. Like, what was your experience, especially in the New York area, or the companies you work with, who you work with?
It's a little bit up and down, like you said. Even though that, yeah, we know we make the right choice, and it doesn't. There's still all these kinks to work out, and then constantly balancing between like the downloads, so whatever the breadcrumbs versus like, wait a minute, like what is the reality, and from the everyday perspective. But yeah, I again, like every person's journey is slightly different, and I'm blessed to be kind of like prepared to kind of ride it the way that through the way to ride through the way that I'm riding it. So it's very interesting and purposeful to see what it's coming as well. The type of client, I mean, first thing first, I think every even therapists, like when you talk about traditional therapists, like it's very interesting what type of clients coming to you, because it's so much reflecting of like what you may need help, what you may need yourself, or what you have been through. So there is that there, you can see like the unseen little connections that happens along the way. And it's truly indeed the right clients, the right types of and uh, relationships going to come, and you see, and also the wrong relationships going to come, business wise and partnership wise. So you just kind of like, wait a minute, am I compromising to make this work in the business sense? Because especially for you and I, we have like kind of, we have the business hat as well, right? We have the traditional business hat on, and try marinate with the spiritual hat. So like, it's not everything is just like whatever and like love and light, no. Like, what makes, how does it do, so a lot of those things shows up. It's like, wait a minute, how can you not compromise your values, your work, and what you do where they're trying to make things, am I trying to, where's your boundaries? Am I trying too hard to make things work? Versus, those, all the situation comes up, it's just play of how you help you to kind of modulate where it's needed. And one thing kind of recently that kind of came up for me, especially um, because on my personal level, in addition to these other modalities, healing that is more on like more externally to others, um, a lot of the journey brought me to a much larger, deeper origins of origin story of maybe the soul, like larger galactic sense. So it's, I all the things that I rabbit hole is like can't even talk about. And I'm like, wait a minute, I don't come out of one closet to get into another closet. So I didn't come out of the corporate closet to get into a spiritual closet where there are so many spiritual things that I can't even talk about to spiritual people because it's that dissonant. And like for example, I'm not a moon person. And I have, there's so many like moon circle, there's, worshiping, moon worshiping, and I'm like, well, and from an business event standpoint, there's so many of them, right? And it's like, very like sweet and it's there's reason for me to, from what I've learned and what I've come through and resonate, that it's like, nope, there's reason not to. So again, how do I speak my truth? There's no different than how you speak a truth in corporate versus how you speak the truth here. So I'm still kind of testing my water, if you will. Yeah.
That, that's so true. First of all, we always change, so we are not the same tomorrow as today. And then it
Yeah.
takes this listening and this deep knowing who you are, this authenticity that, like
Mhm.
I might sometimes go to Moon Circle because I'm also like open, right? So
Mhm.
but sometimes it depends on my day if it resonates with me or not. And I'm not pretending and you're not pretending. You're, like what I love about you is you have this depth and you know who you are and you share this and we all have a different way. Some people might, I feel like a lot of people open up to the truth of who they are, to their souls, and to I mean, we could go down so many different rabbit holes of soul and evolution and of why we are here and all of that stuff. We're not
Yeah.
going to do it right now, but
Yeah.
many people, I feel like, yoga, meditation, um,
Mhm.
when we started doing these things, it was still crazy woo woo, and now it's normal
Right.
in the corporate world, right? Even in the corporate world, they now,
Business. Hmm.
yeah. So because they see the benefits, and science, as I said, science has caught up, and now it's even proven what it does with your brain and how it balances the hemispheres and how much more productive you are. So what you do, I know you also offer sound baths, for instance,
Yeah.
for companies, which is a really great thing because you have this rest, you have this reset, and
Yeah.
you have this energy again to actually be more productive. Maybe
Yeah.
you want to speak to that a little bit.
Yeah, I love doing sound in corporate because and yes, I shut all my woo-woo side, put on my corporate hat on, which,
You have them
you know,
both.
it's easy. Sometimes I kind of like push a little boundaries, right? But the beauty of this is that it's something they can hear. Everybody can hear the sound, and it changes your brainwaves pattern. So from like the chaotic, the inconsistency of vibrations, of thoughts, emotions, and physical pains, and whatnot, into something a lot more consistent. Based on and from by entrained to a different state. This is all very, some of it is very measurable, and there's sound healing um, studies that have research and has kind of described and how those things work. And then there's also other esoteric part of it, but the best part is that like the sound do the work for you. It's your vibration meeting the sound that day, wherever that may be. And it helps the person to not only just relieving the stress and, kind of, I feel like it's by principle of entrainment, right? The high quality vibrations, more consistent vibrations meet yours, which is all over the place. And it's just kind of like, tied, like line everything back up. So the benefit is so, I mean, it's within 45 minutes, they will go from like, like stress and depressed and all kinds of, on the lower scale than emotions to like, hopeful and like, totally energized and ready to, start and like this, after the session, they have another day in front of them. So, and what helps people is that not just their personal benefits of it, but every interaction they have with everyone, right? Whether it's through in emails or in the next meeting, because they carry a much healthier quality of the field walking around in the company. And that really inspiring, even though they might not really know what's behind the scenes happening. And they do know that when they come back, they were like, this, they look forward to that it like saved their lives. It's they know they recognize it on some level. And for some people who are sensitive, they even can dive deeper into be able to listen to the quieter, deeper truth that may be a little difficult to do in an everyday sense. And even do and for meditators, sound in some way it's a lot easier to get deeper, a lot deeper than a lot of different types of sound that type of meditations that maybe other people have experienced or practicing. So that's one of the great thing I love about working with sound. Yeah.
And it's, as you said, it's beneficial for the company because it's energy, they're more balanced, they pass it on to the workers. It enhances the mood and also the quality of the work, but it also ripples out to their families, their friends.
Yes, absolutely.
And what people don't see is the work that you and I have to do on the back end to actually keep our energy up to do the work we do in
Yes.
such a way, right? So
Yeah,
because
very so.
you can
Yeah.
show up with an empty cup and fill the
Yeah.
cup of others.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So I have to do so many like clearing, and it's on myself and all the healing work that I have to do on myself and yeah, and it's kind of constant flow, because you can only give where how much where you are, and same thing for everybody on the conference table in the room that going back to their, perspective position. Yeah.
What do you do with them? Like, I know you play the computer so much, sound healing wise alone. You play the gong. So
Yeah, for corporate, I have like a specific setup that's easily travelable, right? I usually do it in a conference room, people just sitting down in chairs instead of like lying down luxuriously, like a group nap, which is what my preference would be. But even in a 45-minute, an hour, and some of the pros would just don't even care and just lie on the carpet, plain carpet, and because they just go for it. Yeah, I have crystal alchemy singing bowls, tuning forks that has patterns specifically for tuning down the nervous system, regulating the nervous system, and Shruti box. And sometimes I would put in some messaging that's more by voice, using voice work, as well as some spoken word that is codes, not just spoken word, but they're actually codes to clear things that may be attached to us, or codes to more like connecting a deeper. It's more like sending a message, right, into the being. That's go beyond affirmations, but like on the same line. So yeah, I was really amazed with some of the results and some of the connections even made among people within that table. Um, so that's it's a very simple um, receive the ways for them to receive and recharge during the day.
what I love is more so accessible for no matter where somebody at, right? So if you don't have to be into spirituality at all, you
Yeah.
just experience it and you feel it in your body. And I always feel like once people have experienced how it helped them, then they open up more. And that's great about the work, bringing the work to the corporate place.
Yeah, and that's where it's so much needed, right? How much time that we actually spend at work outside, and I noticed even my old company and where people I work on there, you know, that's those are my hobbies. I've been just doing it for so many years, but like a lot of people are not exposed to it, and it's it being as part of their regular routine schedule. I mean, it's no different than, hey, people take coffee break and smoke break. Why can't they take a sound break? Like, even it's 20 minutes, you still people feel so deeply within refresh in 20 minutes. It's much, and the benefit of it, we just have to, as a society, develop better habits and routines, and yeah.
And the great thing is, well, you can do it online, but what I also love, like once this whole crisis is over, uh,
Hmm.
on your Instagram, like I followed, even though we're not physically at the same place right now, but I followed your journey, and I love this setup. I know your apartment in New York, which is a gorgeous place that I have. have many fond memories of, and it's really beautiful. And you have, when you, like, people can go on your Instagram and just see the layout for the private sessions that you have. It's so amazing, like these crystal grids that you lay out, and there's fur, and it's all it feels so beautiful and luxurious, and just like, yeah, just like a spa treatment. And I know that all people have to do is lay down and be willing
Yeah.
to receive.
It's kind of funny because I tricked out my apartments and I have all types of energetic work done to it too, even more since you have visited.
Of course.
I have these corners. I have this special geometric structure that aim to develop convert to create negative ions in space. So I have a lot of other like with the geomancy work, so kind of block a lot of negative energies and also charge the place. So people pretty much, if they're sensitive, they walk into my apartment, they know it's like first, and people like don't leave. That's the sign, even though they don't know what's happening. Like, in 2 hours gathering, it usually becomes four, and I'm like, yeah. And just being in the space, like even chatting and whatever, it's they get recharged literally. So and yeah, and I think all the safe spaces should be like that. So that's the other aspect of the work that I do. It's to raise the vibrations of not just the fist. You can heal yourself, but then you get back to a place that is not um, that drain you, then where all that's lost. So yeah, so that's another layer of work that will be helpful. It's spaces that bringing people healing, just being in there, literally.
And what I want to say, I feel, I believe the last time I was in New York at your place, you already had these corners, and the geomancy, people can look it up on your website, because I also had to look it up. It's basically, it's not the same. It's totally different than feng shui. Feng shui, I never know how to pronounce it in English. Feng shui, we say in Germany.
Yeah,
Feng.
yeah.
So, but it's basically really creating an optimal energetic
Yes,
in your space, right?
yes. Hmm.
So there's also an ancient wisdom about to
Very
that.
much so.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, very much so.
And what I love is, like, I would love to know more, actually, for people, because people in New York might know you right now. You have established a client base, and I know that you do offerings right now, like people can book you. This is what I've seen on your website.
Yeah. Hmm.
Maybe we'll talk a bit more about that, and also about, because you're actually incredibly generous, and I'm going to tune in more often now that I have experienced yesterday's session. You're doing energy sessions and sound sessions online as free offerings also.
Yeah, I'm doing 4 times a week right now. I figure I'm doing Monday, Wednesday, Saturday, and Sunday. All of them around. So Monday, Wednesday is at noon, and Saturday, Sunday is at 11 o'clock. Because I do have clients and friends in other parts of the world, and I'm like, oh, what can I find the best time that they could participate in? And I'm alternating. So Monday, it's an energy healing. Wednesday, sound bath. Saturday, energy healing. Sunday, sound bath. It's an hour sessions, and so the sound sessions I try to keep it pretty like uh, nondescript is not the right word, but keep it more at a higher level. So people just more pure sound receive, and energy healing sessions I collect, like as you witnessed yesterday, I collect very specific things that people want to work on so I can dive deeper. And yeah, and like people want to work with me like deeper one-on-ones, it's always great because as much as whatever is covering in the group and in the session that they would cover, there's still a lot of people need more specific help, and available working remotely over Zoom. And actually, a lot of the work that I do, I don't even need to see you at all, right? Because the way energy healing works. And yeah, so there's definitely a lot of continuous support that I can do from sound or energy healing. And I also do work with space, land, underground energy, and apartments, and those some portions of it I can support before. Because for example, the place that I'm in right now, I spent days to clean it out, and it's a pretty good space already, and it still need cleaning and energizing and creating energy spots actually when you can rest. So some of those that I can start can work on, and then maybe depending on the type of site, type of energies you have, because we don't know what's underneath, because there's all types of energy that's underneath. Like think of all the millions years of activities, right, from animals or people, and all type of things that in this space that actually has quite a bit of influence. um, So yeah, some of those I can do remotely as well, and some of them I'll, need in person. So yeah.
A few things I want to add. First of all, it's noon and 11 Eastern time, US time. So
Mm.
people might be tuning around from different places. And then also with the energy work, some people cannot really, they might say, what do you mean you clear that space? And I always explain it for even as, from the perspective of being an empowerment coach, when you're depressed, or when you're as an animal being tortured, when you're in pain, or when you're as a human feel guilty or shame, you know that you have like a low vibe, you have a low energy, and everybody knows that, and you feel sluggish, you don't have much to give, you
Yeah.
really feel stuck, you don't see solutions, you have no energy to do something. Whereas when you're in love, or when you're just feeling good, or you're surrounded by people you love, you've got much more energy, you've got much more clarity, you've got much more, you see different, think differently. And these energies, they just don't leave, they just don't dissolve, they might stay in places. And this is what you do with the clearing work, right?
Well, yeah, that's a great way to put it. And I would say that the most, and especially a lot, myself included, especially being in a technology world and science world for so long, a lot of us are not connected with how we feel, our insight and our feelings. So I'm a very mental person, and still, I mean, I use some other means to kind of help me to check on things. I use dowsing and a lot of other skills that I pick up along the way, but it was not as somebody is not as easy as someone, quote unquote, easy, as somebody who's like empathic like yourself, right? Kind of like have kind of follow that. So the most profound thing that I would say, and in certain modalities kind of develop the scales, you can just compare before and after. Like where are you at? Your anxiety, your anger, like where you're right now. And after the session, where are you at? And you might not realize, unless you actually pay attention to actually checked in, you might not realize what the shift that is. The most, like for me, the receiving an energy healing, there was a time that I was having going through a heartbreak, and I was standing up. Like she was, receiving a healing stand up for like 10, 15 minutes. And, I go from like that, like emotional despair state to like, oh, I don't even remember. I literally didn't even remember what was that state was. So it could feel like that. And if we're going to explain a little further, it ties into the energetics in your body and again the layers of the body. I mean, literally, there one explanations of it. It's certain energy we hold in our chakras, energy centers, in the cells, certain memories and certain especially for like a lot of psychological mental issues, if you will, like even depression. There's elementals we call it, like psychic cockroaches. So when you clean that out, literally from your energy, from your chakras, replace it with something else, your body, it shifts itself. Same thing for even for pain. It could shift like that. And depends on what the nature of the pain. Because if the pains that come from like other, like I work with someone, and it wasn't working well. I work with her on face actually. There's like a facial facelift rejuvenation anti-aging protocol that works amazing, by the way. And yeah, yeah. Your face is great. You need that at all. But they, she just told me that she has this weird pain from her hip to her chest area, and she had it for 5 years. She knew exactly when she started having it. It has to do with when she was traveling to different countries and this and that. And I'm like, okay, so what's and she did the pain's increasing. I mean, it's probably just annoyance, but it turns out it's actually a hook, an energetic hook. So, I mean, I was like, okay, let me, and I was with text with her. And, 5 minutes, she was like, how's that? She's like, it's gone. So I'm like, well, let me check in with you another day. And it, and then she was like, oh, it came back. So I'm like, okay, let me do some more work do some more work. And just another 2 minutes, completely gone. So it depends on the nature of it, right? It could be like that.
On the nature, and how like even being empathic,
Mm.
something you don't know in the early stage, because once you become aware of what you are, like how you can sense other people's energies, you still don't know, like in the beginning, what is mine, what is theirs, how can I not shield myself, but actually stay in my own energy without
Yeah.
being affected by that. And when you say what you clear, and people who have no, entry point or access point to the energetic language that we talk.
Hmm.
People still feel that they know that anger. People have stomach ulcers because they've been angry all of their lives. So it actually, you know, this might make sense to
Yeah.
them.
Yeah, exactly. So and it sometimes it depends on how in depth that I would talk about certain things because it may be like kind of feeling kind of out there, but all those are it's part of our energetic reality, and I think we're all slowly waking up to it and being acceptance of it. But I mean, the more that we learn about the energetic anatomy and the way to how like emotion, like you mentioned, like a pain could be completely, somebody I work with is it's a completely not, yeah, yoga spiritual, but not to the energetic sense. And I know that he was grieving a lot of things. He's saying he's fine, and it's really kind of like compartmentalized, but it comes in a digestion issue. So I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll work with your physical layers of congestions, but I work so much on the emotional aspect, right? And yeah, and that's the different layers that we kind of have to kind of dissect and be able to want, to help the clients kind of learn along the way, because at the end of the day all the healing is self-healing. So it's not just like I did something and then Matt, voila, done. And there's a lot of personal awareness and continue upkeep of it, right? You don't go to a dentist once and your teeth was clean, right? You don't go to the gym like 3 times and you got muscles. It's a continued cultivations of your energy being, your vibrations, so that you can have better resilience, right? In mental, emotional, and physical sense.
As I said, in order to know how amazing these tools are, people have to experience them. So this is why I, love your offerings. So people who say, okay, I got no idea, even if they say I got no idea what you were talking about, and it's way over my head and way too much woo woo. But while lying down and just being listening to some sound music or some sounds like, why not? I could just give it a shot.
Mm.
They can
Yeah,
tune into your offerings, or they can even look at your Facebook page, and I've
yeah,
seen likes on there from previous offerings that
yeah.
they can just experience it. And as you said, then make a marker. How did I feel before? How do I feel after?
Exactly. That's the easiest litmus test. And do pay full attention, right? Because it's just like all things, right? It's you bring your whole being into it, and it's anything that draws you into is an experience. There's a lessons and there's a reason. So doesn't matter who it is that who you're like drawn to, pay attention, and during the experience pay attention how you feel. At the end of the day, this is all about your own explorations of who you are. Yeah. So it's all the things that you come across is just giving you that reflections and giving you that like little taste. Yeah.
I could speak out with you like forever, but I feel like this might we might do this privately, and I'm gonna
Yeah.
thank you so much for taking the time. And
Thanks for having me. It's fun.
it's always fun. So much love to where you are. Thank you,
Hmm.
and I hope you will
Lots of love
check
to
out
you.
the
Mhm.
offering. Yeah, well,
Thanks.